Never thought I would make a post, but I am angry and not thinking clearly. I also apologize in advance. I am a brute and do not mince words. I am a 47-year-old female. My nephew Joey, 21, is getting married in 2 weeks, and his mother Judy, 45, is trying to come, but I have adamantly told her not to because of how much trouble she has caused him in recent years. When Joey was 18, he was in a car crash with his father. His father died a few days later, and Joey was also hurt, but obviously survived. I know all of this was triggered by my sister's grief, and I am trying to be mindful of that. First, she purposely missed his high school graduation because she could not imagine being there without his father. Joey was understanding, and thankfully me and his girlfriend, now fiancé's, family were there for him. Judy insisted on still hosting a graduation party a week or so later. I was not able to get there until towards the end. When I got there, most of the guests had left, and Judy was a drunken mess and was crying about her husband's death. I told Joey to pack a bag and to come to my house for the weekend, which he did. Judy swore she would do better and begged him to come back home, which again, he did. A couple months went by, and Joey asked if I could drive him to work because his car had been totaled. He looked terrible when I got him, so I asked him what was up. He said he had been working 70 hours a week because Judy had gotten laid off. I asked him how his car got totaled, and he said Judy had crashed it driving intoxicated. At that point, our mom and I sat down with her to try to get her into some sort of treatment or counseling, and she agreed, but we later learned she never went. I take partial responsibility for not following up. Some months later, Joey called me again, this time for a ride to the courthouse to get Judy out of jail. All he said was she had gotten drunk and got herself arrested, but when I picked him up, he had fresh cuts on his arm and jawline. Turns out, she attacked him when he refused to get her more to drink. I begged him to come stay with me, but Judy insisted she would get help if he would stay and help her, which he did. I would call and talk to Joey once or twice a week to make sure he and Judy were safe. She did not go into treatment, but he said things had calmed down. After a few months, he stopped responding to calls and only sent short text responses. Sometime later, those stopped too. Throughout all of this, he has been supported by his fiancée. I started getting my updates on Joey's well-being through her occasional social media posts. They got engaged, and her family is paying for the small, intimate wedding and reception they've chosen to have. As far as I knew, things were better. He seemed happy in her posts. I was blindsided about 2 weeks ago when Joey's fiancée called me. She said Joey needed my help and asked if she could drive him over to my house. When they got there, he was shaking, hyperventilating, and threw up multiple times. When he finally calmed down, he said his mother had gone into a drunken rage some weeks ago and started trying to rip and burn everything left of her husband's. When Joey stopped her, she started wrecking his stuff. All the while she was screaming that she wanted her husband back and wished Joey had died instead. She was blaming him for the crash, the whole 9 yards. Joey said this has been going on for months, and the night prior to his girlfriend bringing him to me, he came home and found that she had burned all of his father's pictures, old clothes, everything. I went to confront Judy. She agreed once again to enter treatment, and this time she followed through. Joey has been staying with me since. Every time I ask about the wedding, or his girlfriend goes over plans with him, he turns pale and miserable. I asked him what was up with that. He would not really answer, but I asked if it was because his mom. I asked if he wanted her off the guest list. He did not have it in him to flat out say yes, but the look on his face said it all. Judy called him earlier today gushing about how excited she is for the wedding and that she has picked out her dress and wants a mother-groom dance. Joey told her not to come. She went all weepy and started begging. At that point, I asked him to give me the phone, and I flat out told her that if she sets foot in that wedding, I will personally drag her out of it. This has caused a stir in our family. Our other siblings think I have influenced Joey, and I should convince him to let her come if she promises to behave. I told them all that since they have helped him very little and do not know his side of things, then they can kiss my butt. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm glad your nephew has you in his corner. I have a feeling that the abuse goes even deeper than you know because he hasn't shared it all. Your nephew deserves a day without drama. It's already going to hurt that his dad isn't there, and I can only imagine the scene his mother is going to cause. Truthfully, I think he's been hurt enough, and he needs your support to help him through it. Your sister needs to hit rock bottom in order to hopefully start some sort of healing and treatment to make amends for the havoc she caused. Her grief is so deep she doesn't realize that her son lost both his parents that day, but one is an hurtful ghost. Please stand guard for your nephew and help him heal. Comment 2. Now I'm going to say it. Your sister needs an intervention years ago. She's driven drunk how many times? She's lucky she wasn't injured or ended the life of in any accident. She needs both rehab and grief counseling ASAP. Your sister shouldn't attend the wedding not only because it'll trigger your nephew, but also because I'm sure there'll be alcohol there, and she's proven time and time again that she can't control herself around it. It's a very bad idea. Please let your family understand the severity of what's been happening to your nephew, because your sister can easily spin her tales about her addiction so that one of them will sneak her into the wedding. Your poor nephew. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I've got to get this off my chest. I never thought I'd be the one to share my family drama online, but here I am, fuming and needing to vent. I'm the aunt who's been trying to keep my nephew Joey's life from falling apart because of his mom, my sister Judy. So after I last posted, things took a turn. Judy, who had finally entered treatment, was making progress, or so we thought. She was attending her sessions and even started talking about making amends. But then the unexpected happened. Joey's fiance found Judy's hidden stash of alcohol. It was like a punch in the gut. All the trust we'd started to rebuild shattered in an instant. Joey was devastated. He'd been through so much already, from losing his dad in that car crash to dealing with his mom's downward spiral. And now, just when he thought he could breathe a little easier, this happened. It was like reliving the nightmare all over again. But here's where it gets complicated. Judy, despite her slip-up, was desperate to be part of Joey's wedding. She pleaded with me, saying she'd do anything to be there for her son on his big day. And Joey, well, he was torn. He didn't want the drama, but he also didn't want to completely cut his mom out of his life. It was a mess. I had to step in. I sat down with Joey and we had a heart-to-heart. I reminded him of all the times he'd been there for his mom, even when she crashed his car and got herself arrested. I told him it was okay to put himself first this time. But Joey, he's got a big heart, and he couldn't bring himself to make that call. So we came up with a compromise. Judy could come to the wedding, but there were strict conditions. She had to stay sober, she couldn't make a scene, and there would be no mother-groom dance. It was a tough pill for her to swallow, but she agreed. She knew this was her last chance to be part of her son's life in a meaningful way. The family, they had their opinions, of course. Some thought I was being too harsh, others thought Judy didn't deserve to be there at all. But at the end of the day, it was about what Joey wanted, and he wanted to give his mom one last chance. Now let's talk about the wedding preparations. Joey's fiance's family has been amazing. They've been supportive and understanding through all of this. They've been helping with the planning, making sure everything is perfect for Joey. It's been a bright spot in all this chaos. But then, just when we thought we had everything under control, Judy dropped a bombshell. She called Joey, crying, saying she didn't know if she could keep her promise. She was scared she'd mess up and ruin his big day. It was a moment of honesty that took us all by surprise. Joey, he's a good kid. He reassured her, told her he believed in her, but I could see the worry in his eyes. He didn't need this stress, not now. I had to step in again. I told Judy that this was her chance to show her son she could be the mother he needed, even if it was just for one day. The wedding is in 2 weeks and the tension is high. We're all holding our breath, hoping Judy can keep it together. Joey's trying to focus on the happy future he's building with his fiancée, but it's hard with this cloud hanging over us. And me? I'm ready to do whatever it takes to make sure Joey has the wedding he deserves. If Judy steps out of line, I'll be there to handle it. I've seen Joey grow up, struggle, and come out stronger on the other side. He's more than just my nephew. He's like a son to me, and I'll be damned if I let anyone ruin this for him. Daughter shows up high, so I shut her out, but a freezing night reveals her struggle. We offer rehab, and she accepts, unaware it's her last chance. Some years ago, on a different throwaway, I asked for advice regarding my daughter on a different subreddit. Long story short, she has been a drug addict for years. In my previous post, I asked for advice after I had kicked her out of the house for prostituting herself to a drug dealer to get him to give her drugs. We had worked out a deal where she would stay in the house, do some housework, and stay away from the drugs. My wife and I live in the countryside, so I figured she would be isolated from the people who keep feeding her addiction. But apparently, in this day and age, I was wrong. All of this was preceded by years of therapy, rehab, and other sorts of measures to try to get her on the right track. This incident, however, was the last straw, and after I had kicked her out of the house, we effectively disowned her, as hard as that was. We had had no contact with her for almost 3 years now, and just now, after Christmas, she comes knocking on our door. I was alone in the house. My wife was out shopping, and I was mortified. She looked horrible, and I almost didn't recognize her at first sight. I was also surprised at how she could have possibly made it here, since she obviously doesn't own a car, and I had assumed she lived in socialized housing in the city or was homeless. Turns out she had taken a bus and walked all the way from the bus stop, some 12 kilometers from the house. She had a tent with her, stolen I assume, as well as brand new winter clothes. I could clearly see that she was still using. She asked to get in, but I firmly told her no. She tried to insist, but I shut the door after telling her to go away. She got desperate and started screaming, but after a while, she went away. I have to admit that never in my life have I vomited from stress, but this was the first time. I so much wanted to let her stay, but rationally I knew there was no way I could let myself get fooled again and let her ruin our family for the 100th time. I had already let go once, and that was it. There were no second chances after that point. I told my wife about the incident. After the emotional reaction, she was adamant that we should try just once more and see what she had to say for herself. I firmly told her no. This resulted in an argument. You have no idea how tempting it sounds to just try and get our daughter back, but there is absolutely no way it'll happen again. So many years have gone down the drain, and I do not wish that burden upon our family anymore. We now know that she lives in a tent near our house. My wife left some food out for her, which I approved of, but I am considering calling the police soon to get her back to where she lives. This cannot happen again, but I'm just wondering if I'm wrong and if this isn't just an emotional impulse. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. No idiots here. Addiction is brutal. Your wife does not understand. You are trying to salvage your own sanity at the painful expense of rejecting your afflicted daughter. This is a bad situation for everyone. If you haven't already, I would recommend looking into community support. There are a lot of parents who have been where you are right now. In fact, reading this reminded me of the film 4 Good Days, about a mom trying to repair her relationship with her daughter, a longtime drug addict who lost custody of her children, as she weathers withdrawals and attempts to get clean once and for all. Maybe watching it will provide some comfort. I really don't know. Both my parents are addicts. One was violent and hurtful, overdosed years ago. The other is a functional alcoholic who was just diagnosed with fatty liver from drinking. I don't know your personal struggle, but I see you. Comment 2. Not the idiot, and do not, under any circumstances, try just once more. No, 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 no. Do call the police. She will end up breaking into your place. She needs more help than you can possibly provide. You would not be in the wrong for letting the law get involved. You would be in the wrong if you were gullible enough to let her back into your home. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 2 weeks since I last posted about my daughter showing up at our doorstep after years of no contact due to her drug addiction. I never thought I'd be back with an update, but here we are. A lot has happened, and I'm still trying to process it all. After my last post, things escalated quickly. My wife, despite my protests, started leaving more than just food outside. She began sneaking out blankets and old clothes, anything she thought our daughter might need to survive the cold. I was furious when I found out, but I couldn't stay mad at her for long. She was just following her motherly instincts after all. One evening, while my wife was at a book club meeting, I saw a light flickering in the woods near our house. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate. I found my daughter huddled around a small fire, shivering despite the layers she had on. She looked up at me with those same eyes that once sparkled with innocence and joy. It was a punch to the gut. We didn't speak at first. I just stood there, watching her, remembering the little girl who used to run around our backyard, laughing and playing without a care in the world. It was hard to reconcile that memory with the person in front of me. She broke the silence with a hoarse voice, telling me she was trying to get clean. She claimed she hadn't used in a week and that she was going through withdrawal all on her own. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but years of lies and disappointment had made me skeptical. The next day, I found her passed out near the tent, a needle lying next to her. My heart sank. I called an ambulance, and she was rushed to the hospital. The doctors said she was lucky to be alive. My wife and I spent the night in the waiting room, not speaking much, just lost in our own thoughts. When our daughter woke up, she was different. She cried, apologizing over and over again. She begged for help, for one last chance to make things right. My wife looked at me with pleading eyes, and I knew I couldn't say no this time. We agreed to help her, but only under strict conditions. She would go to a new rehab facility, and we would attend family counseling together. The rehab was a small place, run by a couple who had lost their own son to addiction. They understood the struggle, the pain, and the hope that comes with recovery. Our daughter agreed to go, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Family counseling was tough. We unearthed a lot of buried feelings, resentments, and fears. I learned that my daughter had felt abandoned by us, even though we thought we were doing the right thing by setting boundaries. She shared stories of her life on the streets, the things she had to do to survive. It was a gut-wrenching experience, but it brought us closer together. 2 weeks into her rehab, we got a call. Our daughter had run away from the facility. My wife and I were devastated. We had put our trust in her, and she had vanished without a trace. We searched everywhere, called her friends, checked the old spots where she used to hang out, but there was no sign of her. Then, 3 days ago, she came back. She showed up at the rehab center, dirty and tired, but alive. She told us she had a moment of weakness, that she had gone to see an old friend and almost relapsed, but she didn't. She said the thought of losing us again kept her from using. She came back because she wanted to get better for herself and for us. The rehab center took her back, and she's been there since. My wife and I visit her every chance we get. It's not easy, and I know there's a long road ahead, but seeing her fight for her sobriety is both heartbreaking and inspiring. My mother-in-law tried to ruin my wedding day, but when she played the victim, the truth came out and she was left speechless. I, 27-year-old female, got engaged to my boyfriend of 4 years, 28-year-old male, a little over a year ago. My family and his family have been so happy and excited for us. My family and his know that we both want kids and have wanted them for a while. Around 4 months ago, I found out that I was pregnant. We were going to wait until after we got married to try to have kids, but since I was pregnant, we decided to announce it at our wedding. That was planned to be 3 months later. It got harder as the weeks went on to hide it, but I managed. 2 weeks ago, we finally got married. Despite what happened after the fact, it was the best night of my life, and I don't regret one bit of it. Before people started leaving the reception, my husband and I gathered everyone to announce our pregnancy. Once we did, almost all of the people there were happy and excited for us, except my mother-in-law, MIL. She called me selfish and rude for making the wedding all about me, and that my husband deserved attention too, not just me. Almost everyone there stopped talking, but my husband quickly defended me to his mother. I tried to explain to her that I wasn't trying to take the attention away from my husband, and that I just wanted to make the day even more special. But she wouldn't have it. My husband continued to defend me, but my mother-in-law just said that I brainwashed him not only into marrying him, but also having a baby with me. This visibly upset me, but I didn't say anything. I just walked away. I went to the bathroom for a few minutes in order to try to calm myself down, but it didn't help much. After about 6 or 7 minutes, my husband came to check up on me and apologized for his mother and asked if I needed anything. After another 10 minutes or so, I returned to the main area in order to start the after party. I noticed that my mother-in-law wasn't there anymore. I asked my husband why, and he told me that she stormed out right before he came to check up on me. I felt bad, but I continued to enjoy the after party. The afternoon after the wedding, I decided to go on my phone and text everyone to thank them for coming. Once I opened my phone, I noticed that I had a text from my mother-in-law. It consisted of her calling me a selfish witch who only cares about myself, and that I don't really love my husband and I don't deserve to have a baby with him. I blocked her phone number and haven't told my husband that she texted me. I'm not sure if I should tell him or not, since I don't want him to ruin his relationship with his mother over something like this. Am I the idiot for announcing my pregnancy at my wedding? Should I tell my husband about what his mother texted me? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm not sure if I should tell him or not, since I don't want him to ruin his relationship with his mother over something like that. Your mother-in-law is ruining her relationship with her son. She's the one doing that. If she's going to act that way, you better be prepared to cut her out of your life. If you don't, she'll come between you and your husband. Comment 2. Hubby's mommy is a jealous biatch. She does not want to lose her hold on him, and it is creepy, incestuous, sick. He needs to set her straight that she is not number one in his life now. You and the upcoming baby are, and she probably will need therapy or be cut out of your lives. I would die on this hill. She is a nasty, entitled person. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a month since the wedding, and, well, things have taken some unexpected turns. After the whole fiasco with my mother-in-law at the wedding, I thought blocking her number would be the end of it. But boy, was I wrong. A week after the wedding, my husband's sister, who's always been super close to him, came over for dinner. She was acting a bit off, and I could tell something was up. Turns out, my mother-in-law had been spreading rumors that I trapped my husband by getting pregnant on purpose. She even went as far as to say that the baby might not be his. My husband was furious when he heard this. He's always been the calm and collected type, but this was too much. He confronted his mom and they had a huge argument. I've never seen him so angry. He demanded she apologize to me, but she refused, saying she was just looking out for her son. Meanwhile, I was dealing with my own family drama. My younger brother, who's always been the golden child, had been acting distant since the wedding. I finally cornered him and asked what was going on. He admitted that he felt overshadowed by my pregnancy announcement. He had been planning to propose to his girlfriend at the wedding, but felt like he couldn't after our news. I felt terrible. I had no idea he was planning that, and I apologized profusely. Things at home were tense, to say the least. My husband was struggling with the fallout with his mom, and I was trying to mend things with my brother. But then, another news dropped. My husband's ex-girlfriend reached out to him out of the blue. She claimed she needed closure and wanted to meet up with him to talk. My husband, being the honest guy he is, told me right away. I trusted him, so I said it was okay for him to meet her. But when he came back, he was different. He told me she had confessed that she still had feelings for him and that she regretted breaking up with him years ago. My husband reassured me that he didn't feel the same way, but I could tell it shook him. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, my best friend since childhood confessed something shocking. She told me that she had overheard my mother-in-law talking to someone at the wedding about how she had planned to sabotage our relationship before it even started. She had tried to set my husband up with other women, including his ex, when we first started dating. I was floored. I couldn't believe she would go to such lengths. my husband and I had a long talk about everything that was happening. We decided that we needed to focus on our little family and set boundaries with our relatives. We agreed to go to couples counseling to work through the stress and trust issues that were starting to bubble up. As for my mother-in-law, my husband decided to take a break from talking to her until she was ready to apologize and act like a mature adult. It was a hard decision for him, but he said our family, me and our baby, came first. The situation with my brother is slowly getting better. I've been helping him plan a special proposal for his girlfriend, and he seems to be coming around. It's going to take time, but I'm hopeful we can get back to where we were. And the ex-girlfriend? Well, she's out of the picture now. My husband blocked her after their meeting, saying he didn't want anything to jeopardize our marriage. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.